This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. I'm Marek Mazurek. The Lilly Endowment Wednesday announced it's giving $50 million to the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. $25 million of that grant is going to improvements within Prophetstown State Park near West Lafayette, which is Indiana's newest state park. The other $25 million will go to parks around the state to improve campground facilities, playground equipment, and better access for motorized wheelchairs. The DNR said it's allocating an additional $10 million towards maintenance upkeep at state parks to go along with the Lilly grant. The $50 million grant to state parks comes after Lilly last month announced a $100 million gift to the National Park Service. The Elkhart Area Career Center recently launched a surgical technology facility to address a growing need for surgical techs in the region. The center's Director of Career and Technical Education, Brandon Eakins, said the new facility also expands possibilities for students interested in health science careers by giving them opportunities to explore lesser-known pathways and for adult learners looking for a career pivot.
What we're doing and what is important is exposure. A number of high school students or just K through 12 students will look at a medical career and the first thing they'll say is, I want to be a nurse or I want to be a doctor. But they really don't know much about the other fields that are out there. And there are a number of fields out there, specifically these associate tech roles.
Previously, people who pursued a surgical tech education had to travel to Valparaiso, Kokomo, or Fort Wayne for clinicals. Ivy Tech Community College will now oversee the surgical technology instruction and clinicals in the same region. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Indiana, your bold future starts here. IBJ Media, Inside Indiana Business, and the Indiana Economic Development Corporation invite you to the Engage Indiana series, presented by CareSource, Indiana University, and Old National Bank. With an unrelenting focus on growing Indiana's economy, our Engage Indiana events take place in every region of the state. Discover when we'll be in your area at ibj.com/engage.
Indiana Fever President Allison Barber will step down from her position at the conclusion of the season, Pacers Sports and Entertainment announced Wednesday. Barber has led the Fever since 2019. Now she plans to lead the development of a new effort focused on empowering Indiana girls and women through sports called the Marvella Project. No additional details about that project were immediately available. Barber is just the second executive leader of the Fever in the team's 25-year history and was directly involved with strategic planning for the franchise. On Monday, the Fever clinched a spot in the playoffs for the first time since 2016. The Indiana University School of Medicine announced last week that researchers there are leading a multi-state study using artificial intelligence to better predict breast cancer risk and overcome health inequities in preventative care. A 5-year, $3.7 million grant from the National Institute of Health is funding the research. The study involves an approach called federated learning, in which complex AI models are trained on data that remains decentralized, meaning that data never leaves the location in which it's stored. The data will hopefully then create an open-sourced AI model with the goal of predicting breast cancer risk among diverse patient populations. And starting Wednesday, the Evansville Regional Airport has direct flights to Chicago. Flights will run twice daily to and from O'Hare via American Airlines. From there, travelers will be connected to American's full offering of routes. The return of service to Chicago comes as passenger traffic in southwest Indiana is on the rise, up double digits over last year. Governor Eric Holcomb announced Wednesday that the leader of the Indiana Gaming Commission, the state's gambling regulatory agency, is stepping down. Executive Director Greg Small's last day at the position will be September 20th, 3 years after he filled the role. Small previously served as the commission's general counsel for more than 6 years before that. Holcomb appointed agency general counsel Dennis Mullen to serve as interim director. Indiana's General Assembly has been dealing with the fallout surrounding a former lawmaker's conviction for involvement in a casino fraud case. That prompted legislative leaders to put a pause on all gambling-related bills last session. Storyteller and president of AES Indiana, Brandy Davis Handy, is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast hosted by Gary Dick, presented by PNC. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Marek Mazurek for Inside Indiana Business Radio On Demand.